Greetings. In the last part of our discussion, we discussed how the Lord Almighty warned the Israeli Jews who were entering the land not to worship idols, other gods. Sometimes he called it other gods. And we showed proofs, endless proofs, how they spent the whole time in Palestine, the Holy Land, worshipping idols. Their favorite were Baal, Ashtoreth, the goddess of sex, and Asherah, and many other gods. Any god, any idol, any stone, any wood, made, man-made stuff, evil, they bow and prostrate in their satanic practice against the Lord. Let us give one reminder about those orders, before they enter the land, about worshiping other gods, idols. And those who worship men like Jesus Christ, or the Hindu men gods, or the animals, those are even worse, miserable. All right, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, verse 21. It says, "Do not set up any wooden Asherah pole beside the altar you build to the Lord your God." So they build an altar to the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and next to it, next to the altar where they sacrifice to the Lord, they put, for Asherah. Looks like, another important idol worshipped by the Israelis during their stay in Palestine. Verse 22 says, "And do not erect a sacred stone, for these the Lord your God hates." And they did this always. They did always. They used to destroy what they built for God of Israel to build, for other gods. All right, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 2. It says, "If a man or a woman living among you in one of the towns the Lord gives you is found doing evil in the eyes of the Lord your God in violation of his covenant." So what exactly this means? All right, let's go to verse 3, what evil they are doing. "And contrary to my commands has worshipped other gods." So we have seen how many examples we brought about how Israelis worshipped other gods all the time, bowing down to them, or to the sun, or the moon, or the stars in the sky. And we mentioned that some of the stupid, rotten, in the West today, especially among the Zionists, how they lie and say that, Muslims worship the moon god. Allah is the moon god. While we said that the Quran clearly said, Allah says in the Quran, moon worship is prohibited. So he's prohibiting his own worship? But how would those stupid know about this? They don't read Quran, and if they read, they don't understand. And if they won't, they go to those who twist the meaning of the verses, the ayahs of the Quran. Verse 4 says, "And this has been brought to your attention, then you must investigate." So, if you find anybody among the Israelis worshipping the moon god, worshipping the sun god, they have sun god, not only idols like Asherah or Baal or Ashtoreth, and so many. So if you hear that among the Israelis somebody is worshipping idols of any kind, or the sun, or the moon god, the God of Israel. The moon god is the God of Israel, not the God of the Muslims. So I hope those rotten, in the West may correct themselves. Muslims do not worship the moon. And they do not, say the moon is God, or calling the moon Allah. Allah has a name given to the Lord Almighty, and the Muslims know it is the greatest sin to call anybody by Allah. No creation is allowed to be called after the Creator in the Muslims era. But in Christians, the sun is created by the Lord, they call the sun God. Before Christianity, Mithra; after Christianity, Jesus Christ. All right. So verse 4 says, if this has been brought to your attention, then you must investigate. Number one, it thoroughly. You have to make sure. Do not judge, don't be hasty to judge. Like the Christians used to do in the medieval ages. Anybody who hates, somebody, he can call him a warlock or a witch, and the Christians will jump, to put them on the stick and burn them alive. Witch hunt. Those Christians have such a miserable history, dark as Satan himself. If it is true, and it has been proved that this detestable thing has been done in Israel, worshipping idols, it is true, you investigate it thoroughly, closely, carefully, take the man or the woman who has done this evil deed to your city gate and stone that person to death. It's a very clear order from the Lord. You have to investigate, you have to make sure. How many times we read verses, this is before they enter into the Holy Land. How many times we read verses from the book that the Israelis, forsaken God of Israel, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and prostrated themselves to idols. We haven't seen anybody killing any of them or taking them to the gate of the city and stoning them to death. So not only violating the orders of the Lord in worshipping idols, but also in exercising the punishment to stone them to death, those who worship idols. If the Israeli Jews, back then when they had this land of Palestine 3,000 years back, executed this punishment, they stoned to death those who worship idols, then we will never see idol worship again among the Israeli Jews back then. But they did not. Not only violating the orders and the commands of the Lord by not worshiping except Him, no, they worship idols and they do not execute the punishment against those who do. So double jeopardy. Verse 16 says, do not place a foreigner over you, one who is not an Israeli. What does this mean, over you? What? To bow down and you will climb on the back? What's the story? No. This is, in simple words and explanation, means do not put a foreigner, a non-Israeli Jew, as a ruler, a governor, a president, a king, a prince. A stranger is not supposed to be in such a status over the Israelis. Well, this brings to our attention something stupid done in the West against Islam and the Muslims. In the Quran, which is the sacred book of the Muslims, like the Tanakh to Jews and the New Testament, or the whole Old Testament, New Testament, Judeo-Christian book to the Christians. In the Quran, which is the most sacred book in Muslim hands, it says clearly, لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرون أولياء من دون المؤمنين. The believers, the true believers among the Muslims are not supposed to take a wali from the non-Muslims. Exactly the same words in a different recitation. The same order. Do not put over you a ruler, a king, a prince, whatever you want to say. If this is a Muslim country, it is not allowed, they are not allowed to have a non-Muslim as a president or a king or a ruler. Even Muslims, the vast majority of the Muslims, we are talking here millions of them, they do not understand what is wali. So they messed up. They got, stupid translation to this word wali and said friend. It is not friend. So now in the West, Islam is being attacked again under this stupidity of stupid translation. They say Muslim cannot take us as friends. Well, this has nothing to do with friendship. Muslims have been living amongst you for the last hundreds of years as your best friend and buddies. They loved you and you loved them. You are good neighbors. You had peace. So this is not about friendship. Wali is exactly what we are saying in verse 16. Do not place a foreigner over you, one who is not an Israelite. So the Muslims are ordered by Allah the same way. Not to put, if it's a Muslim country, but there are no Muslim country today. If it's a Muslim country abiding by the laws of the Lord, the law of the Lord, the Quran, then they are not allowed to leave a non-Muslim to rule them. But today we don't have that. We don't have a Muslim country. The Muslim rulers in the Muslim countries are non-Muslims. Their practices are so evil, satanic. They offend the Lord always. So much. And their sins are much greater than their good deeds. So, Muslims are not allowed to take a wali, a ruler, a governor, because from the word wali comes the word wilaya. Wilaya means province under a certain rule. Wali means, the ruler who rules over a certain province. And wali al-amr in Arabic means, the one who takes care of the needs, who rules, who is a ruler, who is the the head of the family, to start with the family, father, for example, or the mother. Then we go greater to the country. Wali al-Amr in the country is the president, the ruler who rules the country. This is wali. So Muslims are under this rule in verse 16, not to have a ruler from non-Muslims in a Muslim country. I'm sorry. So, the stupid West need to stop speaking about how Muslims cannot have friends with the Jews or the Christians. I myself have many. Not many Jews, very few. But I have many Christians, and they are good people. Very pure heart. So, no, it is a false translation and false accusation to Islam. We, the Muslims, can take Jews and Christians as friends as long as they are not aggressors. You don't tell me an American soldier coming, invading and killing and destroying in Iraq, and I should take him as a buddy. Hey, buddy? No. I shouldn't. He's an enemy. He should be killed. He came across the ocean from the US, from the West, to kill in Iraq and to destroy the country. Innocent people, 1 million innocent people died at the hand of the criminals from the American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan, and at the hands of the Israelis in Palestine and South Lebanon. Therefore, no, I don't take him as friends and buddies, but those Christians who are peaceful and they are not coming against the Muslim lives, those are the best buddies you can have. Believe me. Because the Christians are the best among the Americans, non-Muslim Americans. They are better than the Jews, better than the atheists, better than all the rest. Christians have pure good heart. They are raised from childhood to be good in nature. Very well. We'll continue this 16 next time. We'll review it because we have something else to say about it. Take care.